Spanish left-back Pep Chavarria is supposedly inches away from joining Chelsea, and it could be announced as soon as today. Chelsea Academy products Ryan Kavuma McQueen and Reggie Walsh are both looking to get championship loans. Trevoh Chalobah is really close to Como, apparently. And Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Jorrel Hato is staying at Chelsea, but I didn't even know that's something that we were talking about. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today we're talking about deals that are close. That is the theme of today's video. It is deals that are very close, one in, one out, so let's get straight into the news. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Matt Moretto. Breaking: Pep Chavarria is on the verge of signing with Chelsea. Only minor details remain between the clubs. The footballer is ready to travel to London. I assume that's to have his medical, in which case afterwards he would fly out to Asia to join up with the guys on that leg of the tour. So look, wicked, cool. I didn't ever dislike Pep Chavarria. I think he looks like a good player, and I've waxed lyrical about him, and I've even looked at his stats versus Cucurella. I think he looks like a good player. I like the fact that he's a little bit older. Evidently, it's just adding to that experience contingent of the team, albeit not quite as experienced as the likes of Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck, but Pep Chavarria now looks to be our only actual left-back option if he comes in. This is a big if. And by the way, chances are it might have been announced by the time this video goes out. So look, you can only follow the news when you've got it. I did try and hold off a little bit, but I really needed to get the video out. So look, if he's out by the time this is done, wicked. If he isn't, cool, we'll just keep an eye on it. So Fabrizio Romano posted this last night. Exclusive: Chelsea improved their bid for Pep Chavarria as negotiations with Rayo Vallecano are moving forward. New proposal for the Spanish left-back wanted by Xabi Alonso. And again, I'm just driving this message home. Xabi Alonso is being backed to the nines, to the hills, to the wherever you want him to be back to. He's being back to there. You know, obviously Morgan Rogers, I think, was a Blueco signing one way or another. And look, Xabi Alonso was not disappointed to get Morgan Rogers in the squad, is he? Let's be completely honest. But when you look at the rest of the signings that we've got coming in, Palestra, clearly an Alonso sign-in because he actually spoke to the guy himself. Pep Chavarria looks like an Alonso sign-in. Danny Welbeck and Jordan Henderson, 100% based on the Blueco model for the last 4 years, are definitely Xabi Alonso signings. So I think that's such an important part. We are already looking at a strong core of players that have been chosen by the manager, and it's not Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart being like, take this guy and here's a market opportunity, or we haven't even looked at any market opportunities. Pep Chavarria is not a market opportunity at all. And speaking of market opportunities, let's have a little look at the price. So Chelsea Dodgers also posted this via Matt Moretto. Just in, Pep Chavarria will join Chelsea for 21.3 million plus bonuses. The deal will officially be announced in the coming hours. That came out about an hour before I started recording, so like I say, it could come out by the time this video's up. Good is all I can say to that. Good. I can only assume that it must have been some pushing from the players' side, because they were supposedly holding out for this 40 million. And look, like I mentioned this in the last time I spoke about him. If you, as a fan, think that he's worth 40 million, fair enough. Like, I'm not saying he isn't worth 40 million. I'm saying that when you're invited to the negotiation in the first place based on 12 million, 40 million is a little bit wild. So a 28-year-old Chavarria who's just had a really good season in Spain, albeit spent the majority of his career so far in the second tier of Spanish football, for £21.3 million plus bonuses, I think looks like a good deal. It looks like a good deal. Like I say, the most important thing, I think, is he's actually a left-back. Because if we look at everyone else we've got that may or may not be playing there since Cucurella left, Jorrel Hato, yes, left back, but also left centre back, so versatile kind. Valentin Barco on his way in, midfielder, left back. Giovanni Kenda, potentially left wing back, but you ain't putting him at left back if you're starting on a back four. And Landon Emanalo is the only actual other left back option that we had, but 18, academy player. So I think it's really good. We've got a strong option there. Whether he becomes the unchallenged first team left back, not really sure. And we're going to get into Jorrel Hato a little bit later, actually. But you would have thought that Jorrel Hato is going to do what he can to stake his claim to that role. But Pep Chavarria is more used to and better at playing a left wing back role as well. The get high kind of guy. High and wide. Jorrel Hato is a left centre-back, so he's more defensive. He did a bit of inverting into midfield, but if you look at his crossing stats in his Ajax season, where he did really well, like phenomenal player, one of the best players in their team that season, his crossing stats are awful, and he's not really getting high and wide, do you know what I mean? So Jorrel Hato is much more of a defensive left-back, so when we need that option, wicked, we've got Jorrel Hato there, but now when we need someone to go high and wide, to play as a wing-back, and who is also good at defending, this is the other thing. So when I compared Pep Chavarria and Cucurella's stats from last season, Pep Chavarria, for the most part, actually came out on front in the defensive stats. Cucurella was a much tidy passer, for the most part, but that makes sense because he was always getting into midfield, right? But as far as the defending stats go, albeit, Spanish league different to the Premier League or whatever, but Pep Chavarria did come out in front of Cucurella in those metrics. So cool, whether it's now by the time this video is out or whether it's just going to happen later today, it really is starting to look like that Xabi Alonso has got his man and it's not broken the bank. 21 million to not necessarily upgrade that side because it's not an upgrade from Cucurella, is it? But at the same time to reinforce it and to give us a bit more options and to not have to just rely on versatile players that can do a job there. Getting a specialist out there with some experience is a good idea. So let me know what you think about Pep Chavarria in the comments. Are you excited to see him come in? Are you happy that we got him for the 21.3? Do you think we should have just paid the 40? Or are you actually just annoyed that we didn't get him for 12? And guys, if you've made it this far into today's episode of the Stamford Sink, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. And guys, I'm so close to 5k subs now. I can taste it. I'm literally this close. So genuinely, if you haven't already clicked that button, please do it because I can't believe I'm nearly at 5k subs. I was at 2k like 2 months ago. Absolutely wild. This summer's been crazy. You're all an absolute bunch of legends and I can't wait to keep on doing this. Right, that's enough about me. Let's talk about Reggie Walsh and Ryan Kavuma-McQueen, who look like they're going to be getting some pretty good loan moves. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via the Chelsea Spot exclusive. Reggie Walsh is closing in on a loan move with Championship and League One clubs interested. Wigan are leading the race. So I don't know where Wigan are at the moment, actually. In my head, I instantly went Championship club, but actually may well not be the case. But either way, Reggie Walsh getting a loan to one of these kind of clubs is exactly what I think he needs. He's got the technical ability and we've seen it. We've seen it in the game against Western Sydney Wanderers. Like, give him the ball and he can do something with it quickly. He's really, really good with his feet, good passer, good dribbler, ball carrier, got all of that about him. The only disappointing thing for Reggie Walsh, I mean, the kid's like 17, not even 18 years old yet, do you know what I mean? So I'm not being harsh on him, but because he's so young, yeah, he's not naturally a very physical player, evidently. So he's going to need to learn to adapt his game and bulk up a little bit and to get used to the rigours of English football, right? And that goes down the table. Albeit, it's always going to be the highest in the Premier League. Of course it is. But at 17 years old, if he gets to a Championship club would be wicked. But even if he gets to a League One club, that's going to be phenomenal for his development. To be in a team where he's got genuine opportunity to get into that first team based on his technical quality, which is probably going to be really high compared to a lot of the other guys there, but at the same time to train and learn and play against professional footballers, not academy players. Like, I feel the same about Shin Mayuka as I do about Reggie Walsh and a lot of the academy guys, to be honest. Like, these guys are too good for the academy. Do you know what I mean? They are well too good for the academy. Absolutely smashing it over there. Shin Mayuka in particular is just bagging goals for fun, and it's like, there's no point in you even being there anymore. So Reggie Walsh getting a loan to a League One or a Championship club would be phenomenal for his development. You would think Championship would be better just because, the level is higher. But to be completely honest, I don't think it's going to make a huge amount of difference because he might have more chance of getting into the starting 11 of a League One club. And ultimately what he needs is game time. He needs match minutes and he needs to bulk up and get physical. So a League One club might even be the better option, even though the level of the league is a little bit lower because he's so young. Like, if he spends a season at a League One club, then maybe he goes to a Championship club or a low league Premier League club the year after. And maybe we get him at 19, something like that. Technical, bulky, experienced a little bit in playing in leagues and trying to fight his way into a team, and I've got really high hopes for Reggie Walsh in the future. Another player who's going to be making his way on loan looks to be Ryan Kavuma-McQueen. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via the Chelsea Spot. Portsmouth are in advanced talks with Chelsea over a loan for Ryan Kavuma-McQueen. Again, don't know where Portsmouth are. I think it's Championship. But again, look, pretty much almost everything I just said about Reggie Walsh can be applied to Ryan Kavuma McQueen. I think it's so good that we're getting these 17-year-olds, these 18-year-old academy players out on loans that are going to make a big difference in not only helping them develop their technical ability, but their physicality as well, because the Premier League's the most physical league in the world. So look, chances of both of these guys getting into our first team in the future is slim, right? Look, we've got a few at the moment. There's Reece James, Levi Colwill, Josh Achiampong. You know, these are all defenders at the end of the day. We haven't had a midfielder or an attacking player since Mason Mount, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, you know, it's unlikely that both of these guys get into the team. So getting these guys out on loans to Championship and League One clubs, I think, is the best way to not hinder their development by just keeping them in the academy and giving them cursory minutes in the Chelsea team, which there are not going to be many flying around next season because we're not in Europe. So that's really exciting. Like I say, I think getting both of those guys out on loans is just such a good idea. We're going to talk about another out now, and we're going to talk about Trevoh Chalobah. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because we've talked about Trevoh Chalobah to Como ad nauseum, but there is some news to talk about, so we will talk about it. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Nizar Kinsella. Just in, sources in Italy say Como 1907 are confident of completing a move for Trevoh Chalobah. Multiple sources also say it's close. So, look, I think I literally spoke about it yesterday. It just needs to get over the line now, but this is just another thing. You know, this is another one that might be announced in the next couple of days. The other day, they said it might be announced as early as the weekend or the beginning of next week, so we are literally on the precipice of being at the end of the weekend or the beginning of next week. So there's another tweet I found that maybe makes this whole Trevoh Chalobah situation with Como make a little bit more sense. It's not actually to do with Trevoh Chalobah, but Fabrizio Romano posted this an hour ago. Como are closing in on Yan Couto deal after long negotiations for the right back. Broad agreement done with Borussia Dortmund, now working on a buy option clause being negotiated. So, the key thing in there, after long negotiations, this just seems to be Como's style, I guess. So, they're not just going out and being like, we're getting this guy. And they did for Nico Paz, but that's different. Do you know what I mean? You know, they spent a huge amount of money on Nico Paz. And obviously he'd been in the team already. There was the connection with Real Madrid. They didn't need to negotiate for that long. But evidently, just based on this, like, long negotiation seems to be Como's thing. And it does make sense when you think about it, because albeit Como in the Champions League, phenomenal story, fairy tale. Cesc Fabregas taking over when they were in the second tier after their manager got sacked and Fabregas got the interim job, got them promoted. Unbelievable. First season in Serie A, got them 6th. Second season in Serie A, finishing the Champions League spots. So although it's a fairy tale story, Como had been out of Serie A, I think it was for like 22, 23 years before they got back in. So Como are not a club that are blessed with riches upon riches upon riches, and they're at a critical point in their club development, not even just the team's development, the club development right now. They absolutely need to make the right signings and the right sales in order to make sure that they kick on and they're not getting pulled apart, and they can build on what they've created with Cesc Fabregas by getting them into the Champions League. So for that, I guess I really like Como as well. Do you know what I mean? It annoyed me that this was taking so long, because I just want to be a Como, not a fan, but I want to watch Como from afar and be like, yes, Cesc, go. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those, but evidently we're not the only ones that have been suffering with long negotiations with Como, and justifying it to myself, I guess that makes sense based on where they are in their situation at the moment. So, look, Trevoh Chalobah to Como looks like it's probably going to happen. 25 mil plus add-ons, maybe it gets up to the 30. Either way, I'm actually looking forward to keeping an eye on them in the future. Just one last weird thing to talk about today. Chelsea Dodgers posted this via Fabrizio Romano. Jorrel Hato stays at Chelsea. I assumed that was a given, to be completely honest. It's kind of been the message for a while. Like, when Cucurella went to Real Madrid, a lot of the PR around that was one of the reasons that Chelsea are happy to sell Cucurella to Real Madrid is because the emergence of Jorrel Hato at the back end of last season. There was, I won't name names, but there were some content creators flying around this idea that, Jorrel Hato, he's not as safe as you think he is. But I never really bought it, man. He's, because of his versatility, the fact that he actually played well in the team last season, he's getting minutes, he's looking pretty good in pre-season. I just never really thought this was going anywhere. But Fabrizio Romano has come out and announced it. Jorrel Hato stays at Chelsea. So that's good, because I think it's easy to forget how well Jorrel Hato did in the back end of last season. And he's going to be so useful, because what we are starting to see already is something I kind of predicted a little while ago. The style maybe is looking like it's going to be similar to what Enzo Maresca did, but in a different way. So with Enzo Maresca, we started with a back four, and the right back would invert into midfield. So we would end up playing a back three. So under Maresca, and for the most part under Liam Rosenior, we played a back three. We've been playing a back three for 2 years. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. Playing a back three isn't like a massive rejig of the system, because we've literally been doing it. Like Reece James plays at right centre back, or Levi Colwill plays at left centre back, or whatever it's been. People, and Marc Cucurella played a lot at left centre back as well. Even Trevoh Chalobah, people were saying, why is Trevoh Chalobah playing right back under Enzo Maresca? And it's like, he's not. He's playing right centre back, and Cucurella is inverting into midfield. So it looks like we're going to be playing a system similar to that, but instead of inverting the right back into midfield, if it's Marco Palestra, for instance, or maybe if it's Pep Chavarria and there's someone else on the right, like a Reece James, they're going to push forward to become wing backs rather than inverting into the midfield. So all of a sudden it becomes a bank of 4, a bank of 2 and 1, essentially. So and with 3 defenders at the back, right? And the good thing about Jorrel Hato is he can start in a left back position, and if Marco Palestra is on the other side, as we saw the other day, then Marco Palestra can push up, Jorrel Hato can tuck in, and he's not necessarily going to be bombing on forward. He's going to be playing as a centre back for the most part in that kind of formation. And like I say, we can do it on the other side if we play Reece James as a right back, Pep Chavarria on the left, then you push Pep Chavarria up, Reece James comes into the middle, and you've got 3 centre-backs again. So this is one of the really useful things about Jorrel Hato, is he can play the kind of archetypal left-back role, the one that's not so focused on getting forward, but also largely what I expect him to be doing is starting at left-back and drifting in to create a back three, which is what he did when he was really good for us last season a lot of the time as well. So, Jorrel Hato staying at Chelsea, wicked, and yeah, like I say, I just kind of wanted to use that as an excuse to talk about what it looks like the team's going to look like, because we've been having the debate, haven't we, for what feels like forever now. Is it going to be a back three or is it going to be a back four? Truth of the fact is, it's probably going to be both, and that might not even be all of the time. Sometimes we might start in a back three and play a back three. Sometimes we might start in a back four and play in a back four. It's going to be all about versatility and just maintaining Xabi Alonso's principles, right? So I think this is going to be a really interesting season, because it's going to make us unpredictable. This is one of the things I like, is Xabi Alonso is not just going to be a manager who's like, this is my formation, these are the guys who are playing, this is what you're going to expect. It could be, like I say, Jorrel Hato starts on the left and Palestra starts on the right. Palestra is going to end up bombing up. Or Reece James on the right and Pep Chavarria on the left. Pep Chavarria ends up bombing up. Or maybe it's a case of a Reece James and a Jorrel Hato, and we're playing a really attacking team, and we play with a back four, and we spend, we don't do the wing back thing and the width and whatever. I think there's just so many options in the squad. Like, even if you think about our left wing situation now, Mykhailo Mudryk, if he gets back into the team, not convinced he will, but if he does, then you've got a bombing winger. Jamie Gittins is kind of a technical bombing winger, and then you've got Morgan Rogers, who's going to play a lot there, who's definitely a lot more comfortable drifting into half spaces. So we're kind of set up to be able to tackle a lot of different situations. So it's going to be really interesting, I think, to just start, we're starting to see it now, obviously, with pre-season starting proper. We've seen Western Sydney Wanderers, we saw Spurs, which was disappointing, but it is what it is. We had a half of our first team out, and they had pretty much a full-strength team, so I'm not too bothered about it. And we've got the game coming up against Juventus on Wednesday, and there's going to be a lot more of our actual first-teamers in there. So it's going to be really interesting to start seeing Xabi Alonso's style develop, right? Because we've been hearing it as well in the first 2 games of pre-season that were played behind closed doors, Bromley and Crawley, I think it was. Supposedly we started in a back four, and that, the team sheet said it was that, and it could be that, and we could still play in the back three. Versatility is obviously really important to Blueco as well as Xabi Alonso, and I imagine that that's a match made in heaven, because Blueco like buying versatile players, and Xabi Alonso is going to like to have versatile players, so he can change his system depending on the game that he's got in front of him. So guys, I'm going to start wrapping the video up there, but I want to know what you think about everything that we've been talking about today. Pep Chavarria looks like it's going to get over the line. Well, do you know what? I'll check live now. Let's have a quick look. Fabrizio Romano. Have you got anything for us, Fabi? No, not yet. Not yet. No. Okay. No. Okay, so I checked live just to make sure, at least when I'm recording. It could come out when I'm editing, but as of right now, Pep Chavarria hasn't signed for Chelsea, but it looks like it's really close. Reggie Walsh and Ryan Kavuma-McQueen look like they're going to get either League One or Championship loans, which I think is absolutely phenomenal for their development. Trevoh Chalobah, he's going to Como. He's just going to Como. And Jorrel Hato staying at Chelsea, but I use that as an excuse to talk about the tactics and the formation and why I think Jorrel Hato suits that. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Nice one, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked weekend, and please don't forget to click that subscribe button, because I'm so close to 5,000 subs. I can taste it. Take it easy. Peace.